Hello guys, I am Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and I am here today to talk to you a little bit about ham radios. And I'd like to kind of just give you an overview of some of the neat things about ham radio and a little bit about how you can get involved in the ham radio hobby, because I think that there's a little bit of an intimidation factor. I think people have heard about you have to have a license and you have to take a test, and maybe you heard back in the old days you had to learn Morse code and things like that. And so I think the intimidation factor is pretty high in getting into ham radios. And I want to show you first of all that it is not hard to get into ham radios. The test is not hard and the equipment is not expensive to get into it. And then as you get into it, you can grow into more expensive, more capable equipment, and you can get higher and higher licensing levels. But the initial getting into it is really very, very easy. First of all, let me dispel some myths associated with licensing, at least as far as it goes in the United States. The license test is easy. Anybody can pass it. And let me show you what you can do to get ready for it. All of the questions that you might be asked on the test are published. Okay, I think there's 300 possible questions. They're all published with the answers. Okay, and so if you just sort of go through those questions, you can see what you might be asked. Then on test day, when you go in, I think they ask you like 35 of the possible 300 questions. And so really, it's very easy to prepare for. You can print out any number of different places online. You can print the questions out. But let me show you the easiest way that I think to get ready for the test. And so we can come over here. And what you will want to do is you will want to go to the website QRZ, so www.qrz.com, and you will come to the official QRZ website. If you come over here under resources, let me move out of your way, resources, and then you see practice amateur radio exams. So you click there. It's all free and it's easy. Now, the first ham radio test that you will want to take is the technician. And so you would come here to the technician practice test and you would click on that. You can see that there's 3 levels of amateur radio license you can get. The first is technician, the second is general, and the third is extra. Now, what's the difference? With technician, you can talk on certain bands, and it's the very high frequency bands. And with the high frequency bands, you can't talk very far. So you start with a little radio like this one, and then you can talk to people locally with your technician license. Then as you become experienced and adept, you can then go in and take your general test. With the general, you can then start talking on the higher power, lower frequency radios, and these are the radios that you can talk around the world with. So you start out with a technician, you can talk to people locally, and then you move up to general and you can talk to people around the world with that license level. And then finally is the extra class, and the extra class opens up some additional bands to you, so you can talk on frequencies that's sort of the elite frequencies that just the extras can talk on. Okay, how hard is this? I had a student this year that's a freshman in high school, and in his freshman year he passed all 3 of these exams. And so because the questions and answers are published, it's not that hard. So let's start with technician. You come to QRZ.com, you go to resources, you go to practice exams, and then you click on technician exam practice test. Okay, and with a little luck, that will pop up, and then what it does is it gives you one of the possible questions, multiple choice answers, and you can take the test. Okay, take a practice test. Like this says, how many amperes are flowing in a circuit when the applied voltage is 12 volts DC and the load is 120 watts? Well, what you need to know is power is equal to voltage times current, and therefore if the power is 120 watts, we would divide by 12 volts and we would have 10 amps flowing. Okay, and so what you need to know are a few things like Ohm's law: voltage is current times resistance, power is voltage times current. And knowing those two things, there's a lot of questions you can answer. Correct answer would be 10 amperes. Tells me I'm correct, then it gives me the next question. What is the resistance in a circuit for which applied voltage is 12 volts and the current flow is 1.5 amps? Well, again, voltage is current times resistance, and so I'm given voltage and current. I would divide voltage by current, and that would give me resistance. And so 12 divided by 1.5 would be, off the top of my head, 8 ohms. Okay, see, you can come in and you can see the questions that are going to be asked, and you can take the test. Man, I'll tell you, to pass this thing, spend an hour or two a day for a week, and you will be ready to pass the test. Okay, just go to QRZ. Then where do you find the test? Well, just Google it. In all major cities, there'll be a ham club offering the test. They usually offer it about once a month. What you have to do is you have to find out when they're offering it. You go in. It's $15 to take the test. No big deal. You can go in. You can give them your $15, and you can take the test. And everybody that I have ever taken in has always passed the test, because it's not that hard. You just spend a week studying for it, and you can get your license. No learning Morse code, no learning complicated stuff like that. It's just some simple basic engineering questions, and you will be ready to take the test. Okay, first misconception is it's hard to pass the test. I teach high school, and every one of my high school students has always been able to pass the test. 35 questions, you can do it. Second misconception is that it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to get the equipment. Okay, it's very low cost to get your first set of radio equipment, and particularly when we're talking about this technician class where you can talk at the higher frequencies. And a radio like this handy dandy little dual band radio, the Baofeng, is $25. And where can you get that? You can go to Amazon.com, and let me yeah, there we are, Amazon.com, and it's a Baofeng, B-A-O-F-E-N-G. This one is the UV5R, and if you look, it is available on Amazon for $25. Okay, now what can you do with this radio? Well, if you have two of them, or you have somebody else in your area that has one of these, you can talk to them, and you can program the frequency that you're talking on. Basically, you put in it the frequency, and then you can talk on that frequency. This radio, if you're just going handheld to handheld, you probably have about a 5-mile range, and so it's more like a kind of like what you would expect from a CB radio. You would get about 5-mile range talking handheld to handheld. But the good news is, almost anywhere in the United States that you are, there are what are called repeaters, and somewhere in your area there'll be an old ham guy who will have a tower, and he'll have a repeater on the top of the tower. And the way that works is that on your radio, your signal talks to the tower, the repeater, and then the repeater talks to the other guy. So if you have two guys with handhelds, most likely you're going to be able to get more like a 20-mile range talking over the repeater. So radio, handheld to handheld, 5 miles. If you talk radio, your handheld, to the repeater, to the other guy's radio, you're probably going to have a 20-mile range. And so right now, like I'm in the little town of El Dorado, I can talk north 20 miles to Cristobal, south 20 miles to Sonora, west to to Menard, and east to Mertzen. And so there's like a large circle. There's a large radius of people that I can talk to with a little $25 handheld. And so with your technician license, easy to get, $25, you can be up and going in ham radio. And so it's not hard to take the test, it's not hard to get your first equipment, and it's a lot of fun. You'll be on the air and you will be talking. Okay. Very quickly, when you get into this hobby, you'll want to start doing more than just that. And the thing with ham radio is a sort of oversimplified. The lower the frequency that you talk on, the further that you can talk. And so if you start getting then an interest in talking to people around the state, around the country, or around the world, you'll then need to upgrade to the next level of license, and you'll need to upgrade to the next level of equipment. Okay, the next license that you would go to would be the, let's go back to QRZ, practice amateur radio exams. You will want to start studying for your general test. General test is a little bit more in-depth. You'll have to study a little bit more, probably a couple of hours a day for 2 weeks. You'll be able to pass this test. Again, I have freshmen in high school that have passed all 3 tests. I had one guy that passed 3 tests on the same day. He went in and he just took all 3 and he passed them. Okay, so the general test, the general class is a little bit more involved, and the general equipment is a little bit more expensive. When you move up to general class, you will want to get a lower frequency radio. You will want to get a good base station. The radio that I really like is the Kenwood TS2000. Okay, and if you look at, I'll give you links to these things down below. If you will look at toptechboy.com, I'll give you some links to good sources for these radios that I've had good luck with. You can see that a Kenwood TS2000 is anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and the thing is that this allows you to talk on all frequency, all bands, and it has 100 watts of power. And this, with a simple antenna, you'll be talking around the world. And so, man, ham radios are becoming almost kind of like a lost art, and I really like ham radios because you learn a lot of great engineering. It's kind of old school engineering. And we've gotten so much moved to these digital platforms. It's like I feel like we're losing those old skill analog engineering skills. And so I just really would like to see students getting, young people getting back into ham radio. We're in a small school here in West Texas. We probably have 15 students that are licensed ham operators, and they're doing everything from the simple handheld stuff to the HF stuff where they've got rigs that they're literally talking around the world with. And so I found that it's really a great way to motivate students to get into the engineering field. The other reason we really like ham radios is we have a very active high altitude ballooning group here, where we send high altitude balloons to the edge of space. And there's some things that we can do with ham licenses to get like live video feeds back from space back to our mission control here in the classroom. And you simply would not be able to do this without a ham radio license, because the ham radio license opens up certain frequencies to us to allow us to get that data back from space back to the classroom. And so bottom line is, I just really hope that we can motivate students to get interested in the ham radio hobby, and start motivating students to overcome some of these fears that they have. It's not hard to pass the test, not hard to get a radio. And so if you're interested in this, start practicing for the test. If you have any questions, ask them below, and I'd be happy to try to help you out in this area. Okay, if you like this video, think about giving us a thumbs up. Think about subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, put them below. This is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.